Pirates are going to finish around 500 as the Zips forecast has them doing. Is that going to be good enough? No, I don't mean for them. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins. Those are the other two teams in town that I cover. The full Dan Szymborski projections, the most reliable and respected projections in the industry, came out yesterday and had all the details, everything you'd want to know about how Jack Sawinski's going to fare against left-handers in daylight in a different time zone and all that other stuff. But it still adds up to around a 500 team, maybe a little bit below that. As such, they're not going to be making any playoffs. The general math on making the playoffs in the new somewhat expanded format is that you still got to be around 90 wins. It's not mandatory. There are teams that have done it with less, but 90 is, if you're there, you're getting in. Well, 500 obviously isn't 90. 500 actually is a good few miles below that. Obviously, 81 wins. Now, this past season, the Pirates won 76 games. The season before that, the Pirates won 76 games. Or, as Ben Cherington famously put it, we're winning more. What they need to do, I think, believe, to justify keeping their jobs in anybody's eyes. In mine, they already should have been gone. But in anybody's eyes, any reasonable body's eyes, is to make the playoffs. And I say that completely disregarding the 76-win precedent. I don't care that it took them 5 years to have back-to-back 76-win seasons. I do care that in year 6, you're in the playoffs. It's beyond indefensible to not be in the playoffs after 6 years. So if you get your opportunity, your second life, and they have, then you'd better make the most of it, not as some sort of ongoing, look at us just continuing to get better progression kind of thing, but as okay, see, we were just a little bit behind in terms of results, but our process was fantastic, and this season shows it because we just made a 14-win improvement. We're at 90 wins, and we're heading to the playoffs for the first time in a decade. Yay us. That, to me, is the case that can be made for your retention, even for the most ardent cynics about your abilities, meaning, people like me. But then I say all this, and I'm aware of two really, really big factors in the way of this. One is that the owner isn't exactly real big on accountability. Bob Nutting took forever to fire the other guys. He eventually got around to it, meaning the Neil Huntington, Frank Coonley, Kyle Stark crew, and he did think enough of these guys to keep them around. After 5 years of really achieving nothing in any facet that didn't involve drafting Paul Skeens, in parentheses, and Jared Jones. I always give credit for Jones, end parentheses. 2, say it with me, from the top of Mount Washington, they've done nothing this offseason. They've added Spencer Horwitz. They added some bullpen guy, or a couple of bullpen guys. But they're going to take the field with the same lineup that they ended the 2024 season with. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and anticipate that, yes, they're going to add something in the way of a right fielder. It's not going to be something that alters this outlook in some dramatic way. You know how I know that? There isn't anybody available on the open market, and I just don't see another pitching for position player trade Because if you do that, you're taking the team's one known strength and turning it into a, Skeens and Jones and Keller and ... And then it's not a strength anymore. Then 40% of your rotation is a question mark in some form or other. And as far as trading some sort of, other top prospect, like a Thomas Harrington or a Braxton Ashcraft, I'm sorry, man, but that's when a responsible adult as the owner needs to step in and say, you're not sending prospects out of here. Not when there's only, yesterday, the Baseball America Top 100 came out, and there were only 3 Pirates on it. Termarr Johnson, who was a number 4 overall pick in the draft entirely because of his hitting, fell entirely out of the top 100. So the only hitter they have left in the top 100 is Connor Griffin, and I'm sure they'll get him chased out of there before long as well. So no, I wouldn't allow that. I would actually expressly forbid that if I were nutting, but then I'd have to be invested in something other than the financial health of the corporation. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Chris, and it's regarding that Zips projection that I've referenced today and did the episode about yesterday. Chris says, why should that surprise anyone, DK? What have the Pirates done to improve the team this offseason? They lost their best reliever. They traded away a very good back-end starter. They re-signed an aging hero who can no longer play the field. And the big move was acquiring a 28-year-old prospect who's a platoon hitter with no power. We still don't have a right fielder. Do they realize how stupid they sound proclaiming their commitment to winning when those are their accomplishments since the end of the previous season? The answer to your actual question, Chris, before I break it down, is no, they do not realize how stupid that sounds. They realize how stupid you sound and how stupid I sound by questioning them, by not understanding all the glorious machinations taking place behind the curtain. But no, they don't understand that. They don't get that. Because in their minds, what it is that they do, and I'm being serious here, believe it or not glib, is they will map out a projection, a plan of their own that says, if we put Jack Sawinski and Josh Palacios and one of the 2 late season acquisitions that they liked, Billy Cook, Nick York, people like that who have some defensive flexibility, and maybe they throw him into that mix, or both of them, I should say, they can convince themselves that they can cobble together a Frankenstein player. Now, I'll repeat, I still believe they're going to add a right fielder externally. That's what I've heard. But I don't believe it's someone who's going to necessarily blow away these other guys that they have in this mix. That's just, it's thinking small, but that's actually how they think. And if you want somebody ultimately to blame for that, if you're one of those single blame assignment types, you can talk about payroll, but to my knowledge, I'm going to keep saying this, right now, this isn't about payroll. This is about a GM who just doesn't know how to do things differently. But even then, he's not the one to ultimately blame, because he's not the one to ultimately decide this sort of stuff. It's supposed to come, whenever things aren't going the way you want them to, from the individual at the very top of any structure. And it doesn't require some John Sherholtz, Dave Dombrowski level of baseball knowledge to look at the current Pirates and look at what they've done this offseason for anyone, someone off the street to say, hey, this doesn't really seem like a whole lot. You guys, are you capable of doing a little bit more? But even that doesn't come. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everyone listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.